Welcome to Financial Freedom with the Flipping Flanagans, where we help real estate agents and already successful business professionals create legacy wealth through real estate. We go by the Flipping Flanagans, and we don't actually flip houses very often. When you drop the F bomb a little too often, add that to a real estate background, you get the Flipping Flanagans. We actually buy property to hold and see long term gains protected from inflation while seeing amazing benefits from appreciation and depreciation. See you on the other side. All right, we're back.
Back again.
We are going to be digging a little bit into our family and our real estate lives and what it's done for us over the last 5 to 10 years, and unexpected surprises that we've gotten out of the business in relationship to our family and just the relationships that we have now. Honey?
Oh, sorry, I froze.
What the hell is happening right now?
Uh,
I'm like, are you getting a phone call again? Because you have that face on again.
no, I was just realizing how much time we spent, roughly about an hour having a conversation, clarifying, what we were gonna do or what information we feel is valuable to share with the people that we care about and that we're trying to uh, give information to. So it's neat because I would say one of the biggest areas that I think I've learned is communication and realized the importance of it, how whether it's how we communicate, what we use to communicate, and the type of almost the type of words we use and that includes talking to ourselves. So um, yeah, I'll let you kick it off, hon.
So one of the terms that gets thrown around a lot is power couple. Brad, would you agree? Have you heard that before?
I do tend to hear that from time to time. I think, uh,
It
gosh,
makes me blush, right? I don't feel like neither of us are in that mindset of like we were here to like be a power couple.
it
It's
is
a bold
almost
term.
bold. Yeah, it definitely is bold. But there is power or strength in numbers. So you put two people together who are independently successful or driven in their own right, and then you put them together. Now, I mean, it's relevant as long as it's not an ego thing.
Right.
I'm always conscious of that.
Yes. That's exactly what I meant. Is it's like when it comes up, we're always like a little bit thrown back, but then when I was researching today's topics and as me and Brad have been like throwing around things, something that I Googled was power couples in real estate. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hope someday we could Google ourselves and that we would come up as a power couple in real estate. So that was kind of a cool like moment for me as something that I would strive for us to be in. And so that brings us into today's topic of like what drives us and what happened over the years that we maybe didn't even know we were getting ourselves into, and how that all kind of planned out and how our work balances out with our family lives. And if we even have balance, do we have balance, Brad?
I'm a subscriber to the idea that there, is no such thing as perfect balance. Just like, I mean, we've had the past episode that we shared, which was about a perfect plan. There's no perfect balance, it's perfect imbalance. It's, right now we are going to be apart for the next week with independently with a child of, we each have one of our own children with us. And that's, we're being out of family balance, but we're like excessive on the work side and some planning and some coordinating and some logistics. And then we're going to come together and it's going to be no work. And we're going to be playing with friends and doing some great things that enhance the quality of our friendships and our family interaction. Like that's what's cool to me because shit, going to work from 8 to 5, but and if that's if you're lucky, right? Maybe it's 8 to 4. That's super lucky. And then you pick your kid up from school. They got to go do some homework, and it's all said and done. You're cooking dinner. I'm cooking dinner. And turn around, it's 9 o'clock, and if you didn't get some work done or somebody bugs you, all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you're like, is this Groundhog Day? Like, I'm doing the same thing over again. I'm not feeling like any areas thriving excessively. And you start to wonder what it's all about. What is it all for? What would make me happy? Like, really happy, not just like fun stuff on to post on social media, or like where I want to be so happy I don't even think to pick up my phone because I'm so caught up in the moment to even take a picture. And then I'm like, oh wait, I might want to take a picture so I can think back and remember this moment. But like, ultimately the best days are when you're totally out of work balance and you're in family balance, and or family focus, really. And I'll just touch on it because, of course, there's the book, The One Thing, that resonated with me. I got stuck on it. I read it like in one plane trip because I just couldn't put it down. But they talk about ballerinas. They really look like they're floating or whatever across the stage. I don't watch a ton of ballet, but that's what I hear. And they're not just gliding; they are actually counterbalanced, and that's how I subscribe to that. I bought into that philosophy.
Yeah. So we are, I mean, my goal with this podcast, this episode, is to kind of be a little bit vulnerable. And we post a lot on social media about how awesome real estate investing is and how it's changed our lives. And it absolutely has, but it hasn't always been easy. And what we want to really bring to light today, or at least I do, and me and Brad are going to kind of play off of each other because we haven't really talked all the way through this. We were like, here's my goal. And he's like, I don't understand what you mean. So talk about communication is like, I'm trying to align one message and he's trying to figure out what I'm thinking. That's just a communication in itself of learning each other still, even through these podcasts. But really going back to where we were and how we got to where we are today. And so I'm going to ask Brad a question, then I'm going to answer the same question. And then we're going to have one more question, and then he's going to answer it, and I'm going to answer it, and then we're going to finish. So hopefully you guys are on board with that. So Brad, if you could go back to, let's say 12 years ago, because our daughter's about to be 13, and you could give yourself one piece of advice, or you could talk to one person, who would that one person be, and what would that advice be?
Oh wow, that's deep. And I guess I probably won't give the regular answer because I guess we don't plan this stuff, you guys. So not in a way where, again,
We
anyways.
debated a little
So,
bit before this.
oh yeah,
Full
she's
disclosure.
lucky. She's lucky. She's far away. No. So, if strangely enough, I would say, if I was gonna talk to one person, it would probably be myself.
You're like muted.
Because I do not disturb on. Anyways,
Oh, so go
that
back.
was.
It muted or something.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I was getting a phone call, and this person is continuing to call through my do not disturb, I suppose. So, anyways, if I was to go back 12 years ago, I would say I'd actually have to have a conversation with myself. And the reason why is because although I was very capable, I figure I was pretty established at that time. I had been in the military, gone to war, um, traveled a bunch, been relatively independent to that point, gotten enough trouble and had to be responsible for it myself. I wasn't on any sort of a sustainable plan, mindset, like very little concern for the future, just given the decisions and the choices that I was making, which was fine. I was living in the moment and I don't have any regrets. Um, but nobody will be your nobody will support you like you'll have to support yourself, or like you would be willing to support yourself, assuming you come to that realization. There's plenty of people who could benefit from a little bit of improved self-confidence and such. And that's again now why I fall into that category. I still fall in that category today. So I wonder what my 50-year-old self would say to myself 50, whatever years from now. Anyhow, um, and that would be more so just giving myself confidence, explaining what I'm capable of, and digging deep enough to know that whatever I do, as long as I do it, as long as I'm doing what is genuinely important to me. I've always felt that that phrase saying, "If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life." Then it resonated with me. So if that resonates with you, let's have a conversation because like I find that there's some powerful outcomes when you put like-minded people together. And so on top of that, what's the follow-up to your conversation? Like that question, it was who would you talk to and what would you say? Is that what it was?
Yeah, kind of like what advice would you give yourself 12 years ago? And I guess I can't even remember the whole question now, but
No, and I apologize too because I kind of got distracted there. But the important piece of talking to myself was to build that confidence, and then I would the instructions that I would give is be passionate now and today about being good at whatever it is we choose to do. So I've told the story before about how I rode motorcycles. I loved extreme sports. I was adrenaline kind of junkie, and I committed. So when I was at this crossroads of like getting rid of my irresponsible years and trying to use what I had that would benefit me in my adult and more mature phases of life, um, I committed. I stopped and I looked back and I said, you know, why were you so good at the things that you did? And I took from there these fundamental things or reasons that I feel I was better than average at the things that I chose to do, and it was mostly because I became somewhat obsessed with it. I very much committed. I studied. I talked to people who also shared that similar interest, or who just loved or cared about me enough to give me additional support when I was in need of it. And so um, that would be I would talk to myself. I would tell myself to commit to whatever it was that I was personally passionate about, because if I fake my energy to go do something that I didn't really enjoy doing, then I wasn't going to be able to do it for a long period of time.
yeah, I like that. Becoming obsessed. Uh, so along the same lines, like if I was to go back 12 years ago, um, you are the only one who wants you to succeed to the level that you dream of. And that's exactly the same when I look at like advice. I got a lot of shitty advice. And a lot of it came from people I thought were helping me or I trusted, role models. And the thing is, people care about you, so they're caring to protect you. And sometimes, and actually all the time, that tends to hold you back. So if I tell this story, and I don't think my grandma will ever find that I have a podcast. So I hope she doesn't hear this story, because I don't mean to offend her in any way, shape, or form. But I had worked a full-time job and I was like, I'm quitting. I'm going to start my own business. And I was so pumped. And she was like, you are making the worst decision. You have a daughter to support. This is a terrible idea. And a couple weeks ago, she messaged me and she sent me a thing in Facebook and was like, behind every successful granddaughter is a grandmother who believed in her. And I hate to say it, but I was like, what in the actual? Like, that's not true. Like, you didn't support me. You actually tried to hold me back. And I don't say that because she loved me. She loved me. And that's why she gave me that advice, because she thought she was protecting me and she thought she was providing me security in the advice that she was bringing me. But my point with that is if I had listened to her, she had my best interest in mind and her intentions were good. But I knew what I was capable of. I knew what my drive could do. I knew what my passion could do. And that nobody can take away from you. Nobody can take away the belief that you have in yourself. Don't let them take it away. And the moment that you start to let other people wear you down and bring you down is the moment that you're going to start having self-doubt. You're going to lose confidence. You're going to start questioning all your decisions. You're going to become a bad decision maker. Don't. Like they say it like childhood, what's that word? But like a child doesn't know that they shouldn't have that like energy
Innocence.
and all innocence. Yes, they don't know that they shouldn't do something, but we tell them no, you shouldn't do that. No, don't do that. Be quiet, be respectful, do this, do this, do this. No, 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 no. And then by the time they're an adult, they're like scared to do anything or step out of something that makes them uncomfortable because they heard no so many times in their life. There's like really significant statistics on this stuff. And to lead into that, I was trying to go in from 12 years, and honest to God, you guys, we had no idea where this conversation was going. But 12 years, fast forward that. And I just think if I listened to every time somebody told me I couldn't do something or shouldn't do something, how much it would have changed our lives. Like I wouldn't be sitting in a house in Colorado renting out. We have 55 freaking rental units and questioning if my kids should go to ski school, cheer camp, or whatever. Like the decisions that we're making because of the choices that we made and the work that we were willing to do is decisions that most people don't ever get to make. Sorry.
No, and it's funny because it does all start with us. I remember, and likely we've somehow found people who do support us, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a family member or a friend. Because I remember we weren't in the best. You're gonna mess me up too with the tear shit. We weren't on the best of terms when you were pretty well into some of the apexes of your or even the foundational periods of one of your business ventures. And I remember showing up with a truck and I think I got a nail through my hand getting when you were doing either some demo or something. Do you remember that? But I think it's really cool that once you like embody who you believe you are or can be, and then you also can pair up and team up with somebody who does support you, irregardless of the outcome, irregardless of the pros or the cons that are that come from it, either personally or as a combined unit. If they support you because you're so passionate, like that's who you need to focus on or allow to get into your mind. Whereas, like, I don't, my parents probably listen to what we put out there. I wouldn't be surprised. But if there was one thing I could ask them to do, it'd be like, get rid of the cable subscription and turn the news off because it's not bringing much positivity into that space. You and I never watch the news. The most exposure you probably have to the news is some of the economic shit that I care about, that I try to tune into because it is relevant to some of what's going to happen the next morning that we wake up in my world. And so, um, not only what you say to yourself and who you're talking to, but protecting what other outside place sources, what 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 they can bring into your mind. The mind is already going to automatically go to some negative stuff. So uh, if you can protect it from any additional negative stuff, it goes super far. And the last thing that I will share is that one, and then everybody in relationships goes through tons of stuff. And so I'm vulnerable enough to say that we've been through some relatively difficult periods of time, personally and relationship wise. And so I found a book called, what was the
Untethered
husband?
Soul.
No, the other one,
Oh,
the
praying wife.
husband, the power of a praying wife and the power of a praying husband. And so I read the husband one, of course, and oh my gosh, was that reading that, like, I don't know what page it would be or whereabouts or how long you need to read it before you feel like you just got the most awakening information in your life. But it wasn't praying for your wife to accept certain things or praying for her to do something differently. It was praying about how to change who we are, because you can't change anybody else. You can only change yourself. And so coming to that realization, it was such an awakening moment at, I don't know how, I mean, that was 2000 and probably 15 or 16 when I read that kind of stuff. But to realize the power of what we have or what we embody and what we think about was instrumental to the outcomes, like you said. I mean, the options and the life and the change to our family and like what we can give to the kids is really just awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, protecting, on that note too, that really is like part of like who you're surrounding yourself by and who you're taking advice from. And one of the topics I was hoping that we would somehow embody into this, but um, something that Brad and I struggle with is people will come to us for advice. We will give them advice and they won't do anything. And then they'll come to us again and again and again and again. And at some point we're like, hey, like you, and what'll happen, sorry to go into that further, is like we'll give them a lot of advice and it's worked for us. It's a proven thing that we have done. It's not like we would not give it anybody advice on, I wouldn't tell anyone how to change oil in the car. I don't know how to do that. I know how to analyze a deal. I know how to get tenants. I know how to evaluate if it should be a short-term rental. I know how to, all these things. So if you come to us for advice over and over again, and then what I notice is like people will go to their attorney and you should get advice from your attorney and a financial advisor and everything, but you need to make sure that their goals align with your goals. Because
And that
if
they
they've
have
never
all the
been,
data.
well, yeah, and if they've never been where you're trying to go, how can they give you advice? And all I say is if you go to a financial advisor who's never owned real estate, do they really understand what you're trying to accomplish? Again, this isn't intended to be financial, whatever, all the, the stuff that our attorneys would tell us to put on here. Consult with your attorney, consult with your financial advisor, etc. But make sure that talk to yourself first. So when you go talk to those people, you know what your goals are and where you're trying to go, and make sure that everyone's in alignment with where you're trying to go. And cross-check that information. If you go to one doctor and they tell you something and you don't like that answer, do you just say, oh yeah, let's say they told you have to get treatment and you're at a risk of dying in a month. Do you just take that advice and go do it? No, you go get a second opinion. You should also do that with your finances, especially when you're dealing with the biggest assets of your life. And for us, when we meet with people, we are like deeply consulting with them. We are digging into finances. We are evaluating tax returns. Well, Brad is like digging in to find opportunities. And that's really what we help people do, is dig into what they already have and create opportunities, find deals with the assets and the talents that they already have. So everyone's given a different set of talents. So when we talk about investments in real estate, what a good investment for a person over here is not going to be the same as this person over here. I actually enjoy hosting. I love short-term rentals because I get pride out of somebody leaving our property and leaving a positive review and me having a positive impact on their family having a great vacation. That's something that it's not just financial for me. It's actually something that empowers me and I feel good about doing it. But I can tell you, short-term rentals, Airbnbs, VRBOs are a lot of freaking work. It's not for everybody. If you don't want to fluff the pillows and make the bed and make sure there's coffee and, like do all the little things that are going to stand out, it's probably not the business for you. So if somebody is telling you don't do short-term rentals, it was so hard, but you actually enjoy hosting and the person you're asking that advice from doesn't enjoy hosting, of course they're going to tell you not to do it because it doesn't make sense to them. It's not something they would enjoy. So again,
I mean, it goes back to this, like, I mean, you said financial advisors and it hit us a little bit of a hot key for me, but if you call me as your financial advisor and my income is derived off of the assets that you have deposited in your account that I manage, I'm losing money if you take money out of those assets. And your lender or the real estate agent who's selling you the house that you're going to take those assets from and spend over here, they're going to make money on that. So they're of course going to be a big advocate for you buying the house and using your cash because it's the easiest way for them to get the deal accepted. Your advisor wants you to keep your cash in there because whether or not he cares about his own income, he or she might have some opinions on, your investment strategy and how much it's going to cost you. And then me as your loan officer, I'm going to be like, well, you're making 7 to 10% a year over here, and you're only spending 3.5%, 4% with me. I would stay there. So now all of a sudden you have 3 different people who have ultimately should have your best interest in mind, but all have a different motivation for the information they're going to give you. If they're not all in the same room and all talking and all understanding where you're trying to go, it's not going to work. And just like you said about the doctor piece, you ask 10 people, you probably get 10 different answers on any given question that you have. So at the end of the day, who's right? They're all right in their own right. Like, you got to go with your gut. You have to know kind of what you feel, and then find the person that seems to support you the most or does actually support you the most and run with it. It doesn't matter if 8 people tell you it was a bad idea, one person doesn't know, and only one says, heck yeah, I'd do it. Like, focus on the guy who said, heck yeah, I'll do it. And you're probably going to be successful because you told yourself you were going to be, and you had a little bit extra vote of confidence, if you think you can or can't, you're probably right. I love that one too.
We're going a little over time, but I'm going to wrap up with one final little thought here for us. On the advice note, hold on, let me think now. Sorry. So we're talking about stop talking to everyone and talk to yourself. So me and Brad are huge goal setters. We evaluate our goals separately, and then we evaluate our goals together. And then every time that we make a decision, we communicate and we make a decision together on if we're going to do that or not. And once we make that decision, it's not his fault. It's not my fault if it doesn't go well. And it's not my win or his win if it goes amazing, right? It's our win. It's our problem together. and we work through that together. And so if you're a married couple listening to this, I want to encourage you that if you've had trouble working together in the past, really digging into your goals separately and then coming together and coming up with a plan and a goal together. And then knowing that no matter how it goes, it's okay. So either way, you're coming out better than you were, no matter what. Even if it didn't go as planned, even if it fails, you still now know what not to do. Or that went really well, let's keep doing it. And what went really well about it? You know, me and Brad have talked about when I was a buyer's agent, I found a lot of deals for us just because I was out showing properties. And being a buyer's agent, it wore me down. Like, I'm not the best person to be running around town, and I struggle because my phone's going off. I'm texting, I'm trying to map, I'm trying to get my super downloaded. Like, it stressed me the F out, right? Being a listing agent, I absolutely love research. I love digging into all the data. So I thrive at that. However, I don't find as many deals until we reanalyze that. And I was able to present my clients with an offer to purchase the property when I was in the listing appointment as part of our package. So it's just, again, communicating, figuring out what works, and then continue to perfect the monster that you've created, and keep doing the things and the activities that are going to get you to your goal sooner. Anything else you want to touch on?
What you were saying, that there's actually a good, and it's a searchable type of a process, but it's called an AAR, an after action report. So kind of like what you were saying, it's a military term, but you know, once a plan is executed or a mission is completed, you gather and you discuss what was supposed to happen, what actually happened, and then you talk about the sustains and the improvements. So sustains are things that went well, and improvements are areas that, of course, could have been executed better. So using at least that platform as you're out there executing, that's a great opportunity. And then I still agree with the whole, like you were saying, I think, you know, whatever you think is impossible will remain impossible. But if you think the impossible is possible, then you might get close. Who do you talk to? Yourself? What do you say? Support yourself. Find a supporter.
I'm your supporter.
Commit and educate yourself. Commit to being the best and take actions that make you the best.
And be obsessed.
Be obsessed.
Yes, I like that. All right. Well, I don't even know what episode anymore. I have a huge thing to share. We hit 1,000 downloads, honey. Thank you to all of our listeners. We freaking love it.
1,000 download club. Let's do this.
It's a big deal for us. So thank you for listening. Please share this with your friends, and we would definitely appreciate if you would leave a review for us. That would be a huge win for us to get a review, because we don't have any reviews yet. We haven't asked for any. So leave us a review, subscribe, and share with your friends.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We hope you'll hit that subscribe button to stay in touch. Also, join our Facebook group at Building Legacy Wealth Through Real Estate to find out more about what we do and what we offer. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.